it's Dad from BeingMommywithStyle, and today I thought I would do another tea chat, so cheers. I was in a very chatty mood today, and I wanted to just kind of talk about a couple of things that have been on my mind after recent videos that I've done. I actually have some iced tea today. This is what I normally drink around my house. You can see that I have iced tea because it is almost back to 60 degrees here in Alabama, so that's the joys of living in the South. You had winter and snow last week, and we're almost in the 60s now. So anyhow, that's pretty much the reason we moved down here, was for that weather. But I wanted to chat today actually a little bit about that subject, just about how much life has changed and starting to look forward to the future and starting to look towards almost being 40, which I've mentioned in a few day in the life videos, but I don't know if I've really done a chatty vlog about it. As a parent and mom of tweens now, they are both officially tweens. I had some people comment, I made a post on Instagram about the girls being tweens, and they were like, what? How did that happen? And I'm like, I know, time flies. So I've been doing YouTube for a while, and a lot has changed. A lot is still the same. We're still all kind of the same, just older versions of ourselves. And so yeah, I wanted to chat about planning for the future, kind of where I think we might be headed. I want to talk a little bit about budget and planning because I used to do those sorts of videos and it's kind of evolved over time, and just have a really fun chatty vlog. So grab some hot tea, cold tea, coffee, wine, whatever you need to make it through my video, and let's chat. So first things first, let's just start talking about almost being 40. So I know a number of you that watch my videos are already 40 or in your 40s, or you know, a bunch of different stages of life. So I wanted to talk a little bit about getting ready to turn 40 and actually kind of what this year means for me as well, because I've made a number of comments about it on Instagram, so I felt like I wanted to do a video as well. So this year and 2021, I'm turning 38, so I'm still in my 30s. And when I started doing YouTube, I was in my upper 20s. So I was like 29 or something like that when I started doing YouTube videos way back when. And my channels have evolved since then. Obviously, this channel really started to become my focus for a while because, you know, mom life, and I had littles, and this is what we were doing. And so I talked about a lot of mom life topics. Well, now the girls are older and they're tweens, and it's nice because they are more autonomous and they're able to kind of take care of themselves and somewhat manage their own schedules, and they're getting older. So there's a lot of learning how to parent tweens, and a lot of that is kind of the give and take of letting them be kind of themselves and letting them make decisions for themselves, but still being there for guidance, and always really trying to find that line. And I was thinking about this earlier about how, like, when they were little, like, you know, you really were kind of directing them through everything. If you needed them in the cart, you picked them up and put them in the cart. But now I really have to make the conscious decision of, you know, instead of just grabbing them and hugging them, like just making sure my arms are wide open. So if they need that hug, they can come get it, but they are able to make their own kind of autonomous decisions as well. So it's an interesting stage because, you know, as they become teenagers, there'll be even more of that, and they'll be directing their own, you know, decisions about what activities they really want to be doing and all of that. So we're definitely at the entry-level stage for that, for sure. I can see that. So it's been an interesting year for us to be home primarily, because I felt like it's in some ways, of course, been a bummer because they haven't been able to see their friends in person as much and all of that. But in other ways, it's almost been to kind of our benefit because they've gotten a lot of quality time with us. And I feel like it probably has helped them gel with us as they've gotten into these middle school stages. Not under any disillusions that we won't have typical teenager stages, but it's been nice to spend the time with them. But this year in particular is interesting with me turning 38 because my mom was 38 when she had me. So that always sticks in my mind that, like, my mom was 38 when she had me, and then like every year after that is kind of like the age I remember her being. So like literally I'm my mom's age now, which just, you know, or I will be after May. And so that's just always kind of interesting to me. Also on Valentine's Day, I realized that this year, because I'm turning 38, it also coincidentally will mean that after August, I will have been with my husband for 19 years, not married for 19 years. We will have been married for 16 years in August, but I will have been with him, either dating or married, for 19 years at that point. And that will be over half my life. So I'll turn 38, and then in August I will have been with him for 19 years. And then every day after that, I will have been with my husband for more days in my life than not, which was also like just a crazy coincidence that obviously makes me smile. And it's kind of just a really interesting statistic about this year. So there's all kinds of things like that happening this year, and they're all good, but it all just kind of aligns with like we're getting older, and so we're entering into a new phase of life. And what does that look like? So one of the reasons we moved down here and we tried to change like the kind of crazy busy hectic lifestyle we had, which we're still busy, don't get me wrong, but to really have more time to be able to take vacations when we wanted, to be able to do those family trips, to not have to move as often, is really one of the biggest ones. And I think a lot of that has panned out. My husband's definitely happier down here. His job is less stressful. He still enjoys it. And it's got a lot of the elements that he enjoys without all the elements that he didn't. We obviously don't have to move every 2 years now, which is nice. And we also just realized that this is the house in our entire time being married that we have lived in the longest. So if you have been with us in multiple houses, because obviously I think I started YouTube doing it regularly when we were in Illinois, and I think I did a couple big videos actually when I was originally in Michigan. And then we went from Michigan back to Illinois, and then Illinois back to Michigan. So our moving sequence there was kind of, I think back in the early days, like 1 or 2 handmade videos may have been filmed when we lived in Michigan. So we had gone from Illinois, I wasn't making videos yet, to Michigan, maybe a few of them have been made there, to Illinois. The second time is really where I really started to pick up making videos, and then we moved back to Michigan. And then eventually we ended up down here in Alabama. So if you're newer to my channel, that was kind of the series of, we were moving back and forth every couple of years, and sometimes there was moves within those locations as well, to get us where my husband was an automotive engineer, and he was changing vehicle platforms to move to wherever the new release vehicles were. And so it was moving pretty much every 2 years. And so it hit a point where we really realized something was going to have to give from the way that we have been doing things. And this is what he wanted to do. And, you know, I think it's really worked out. So we've gotten settled in down here, and this is the place we have been the longest, and the house that we have lived in the longest since, I think, literally we got married. So that's also an interesting thing. So all of these kind of fun coincidences are kind of lining up around the same time. So I think 38 is going to be a really interesting year. And I really want to start thinking about what I want my 40s to look like, what goals I want to set, where we might want to travel, you know, things I might want to do for myself, and just some kind of, I guess, after COVID goals as well. Not to say that I can't set goals right now, but, you know, starting to think ahead to the future and kind of think longer term, because time flies. I mean, when I look back and I think like the past 10 years, how long I've been doing YouTube, how long since the kids have been little, I mean, it doesn't seem like it's been that long, but it's literally been 10 years and zip, and here we are. So I really want to start consciously thinking about the next 10 years, because time flies, and, you know, I'm knocking at the door of 40, and then another 10 years, we'll just be on to the next one, right? So if you have any wisdom or advice that you'd like to share, feel free to put that down in the comments, because it is on my mind a lot right now. Just trying to be as intentional as possible and just starting to think ahead to the future. But also, one thing I wanted to talk about and just mention, and honestly just kind of do like a little check-in, because I used to talk about this fairly often on my channel when the kids were little, and people used to have a lot of questions about this, but they don't really seem to have questions about it anymore. I think it's because littles are so expensive, and you've got like diapers and potentially formula and all of the things that go into taking care of them, and they're changing clothes every 3 months or 6 months, you know. And so it just takes a lot. So a lot of people during that time period had a lot of questions about our budgeting and what we did for budgets. And someone the other day made a comment on one of my videos just previous that had made the comment of they knew or remembered that we were very like kind of mindful with our budget about kind of laying out you know, a set budget and like living within our means and kind of planning and all of that. And it really made me think, I haven't talked about it in a long while, so I thought I would just kind of chat about that and how it's evolved over time as well. So when we were young and we first got married, like we literally Excel spreadsheet budgeted, like down to the penny. It got summed up. We had budget meetings every month, and that really allowed us to kind of get ahead quite a bit. I will say it's very effective. Like when you know how much money you're spending on things, it makes a huge difference. And so for instance, this was way before we were making videos. I think had budgeted before this, but where we really started ratcheting down on our budgeting and really made some huge inroads were actually the 2008 recession. And I can actually give you some interesting advice from that situation, because that was probably the last like really huge recession that happened, and the epicenter of it was in Michigan. I mean, the car companies filed for bankruptcy, and it was just a really devastating time in Michigan, and that's where we lived at the time. And so even though we were doing okay and my husband had not been laid off at the time where the bottom basically was falling out, we really realized like we needed to make huge strides to ensure that if something devastating happened, or you know, this just became a long-term situation in Michigan, we could weather it. So we were renting a house. We had just moved there from Illinois not too long. We were renting a house. We actually moved into a rental that was half the price. It was smaller and in a different area and all this sort of thing. We moved into a rental that was half the price, really started zeroing in on our Excel budget, and really started hammering down anything that needed to get hammered down, and start socking money away as much as possible for the unknown. And so that year, although it's not one of my most favorite years because it's been a long time since I've talked about any of this, but that was also the house where it got broken into, and it was just a really kind of not great year. It's not one of my favorite years, but we really made a lot of financial inroads that year. So it made a huge difference. Being super, super conscious about the decisions that we were making. I'm pretty sure we were already doing an Excel budget at that point, but we really made a point of we're putting away as much as possible. And going through that situation in 2008, of course, things eventually ended up leveling out. There was unfortunately a lot of people that lost their homes during that. We didn't get caught up in any of that because we had just moved to Michigan not too long before that, and we were renting, luckily, so we didn't get caught up in any of that. The person that we were renting the house from, he had owned the house outright, so you know, it didn't affect where we were renting. But there's even renters that got into trouble in Michigan because of the whole series chains of events. And so it was a really scary time to live in Michigan. I mean, you'd be driving down the road and it'd be like foreclosure, foreclosure, regular house, foreclosure, foreclosure. And so it was just a really interesting time that did leave an impression on us. So from that point on, and that was before we had kids, because Isabella's born in 2010. So from that point on, we always made the conscious decision that we would, even if we had two incomes, we would always base our bills or budget or whatever you want to call it off of one income. So then the secondary income, whatever it was just extra. It could go towards savings, it could go towards extra things. And I've talked about a lot of the things that I've been able to do with the revenue I've made from YouTube. Bought our dining room furniture, our living room furniture, our kitchenette furniture. I bought furniture, like pretty much most of the furniture actually in our house I purchased. And I do all of the extra things, vacations and all of that, and just saving for goals, and eventually like the kids' college and all of that will be from secondary incomes and or savings. And so it's been on my mind lately because obviously we're in this unusual situation that's affected so many people across the country. And there's no way that you can know that you have to plan for something so abnormal until you're like literally in the middle of the situation. And I really have thought a lot about the people that are in the same situation that I was potentially like in college. In college, I was working 3 jobs. like literally going to college full time. I was a dance instructor. I worked at Best Buy. I worked at a job on campus. Eventually, then I started over at Finish Line. You know, I was working multiple jobs for a time period, was doing the dance team and teaching dance and going to college full time. Eventually, I could not handle, it was just too much. So I stayed college full time. I dropped doing the dance team, but then joined like the local like dance repertoire theater, which was like their little like dance company or whatever. A little bit more flexible schedule, not as many practices. Was able to do that. But at those points in my life, like literally $100 could have been the difference between making my bills and not. And so I've really thought a lot about, in this situation, people that are just starting out, this situation, there's no way you could plan for it. And so it's a really, really tough situation all around. But then living through the situation in 2008, it really changed the way that we looked at things, the way that we planned for things, and really just kind of our outlook on what decisions we made. And so I guess my reason for bringing it up is, one, things get better. They will get better. If it's tough right now, it will get better. I mean, we lived through Michigan at a time where literally my husband worked for one of the automotive OEMs. He was going into work, and the day that he came home and said, the fountains are turned off outside because they don't want to pay to run the water. And they stopped ordering copy paper, and he had to bring in his own copy paper because they were not able to afford copy paper. That's the point when I really thought, like, this is it. This is bad. And, you know, tens of thousands of people are relying on those jobs there. So if he just goes to work one day and the doors are locked shut because they couldn't pay their bills, like, he's one of tens of thousands of people that work there. We weathered it through. Things got better. And, you know, we personally were able to learn a lot from that situation. So I guess I just wanted to mention that if you're going through this situation, no matter which phase of life you're in, it will get better. There's a lot of takeaways, especially if you're younger, that you can learn from this and make decisions going forwards to help prepare you for any unknowns. But definitely, if you're in a 2-income household, if you can set it up to where you are only basing your budget and your bills off that one income, is definitely something I highly recommend, and I've talked about in other videos as well. But, you know, socking some away for a rainy day is never a bad idea. And I think that once we collectively get out of this as a society, there's a lot of issues we're going to have to look at, because this pandemic, I think, kind of highlighted some of the weaknesses that we have, with, you know, insurance being tied to your employment. If you get unemployment, you no longer have insurance and things like that. So anyhow, it's a very complex situation, and I've kind of gone off on a tangent, but I've been thinking about that a lot lately as well. So kind of reflecting on the past, thinking ahead to the future, and yeah, just kind of starting to think about my life as a tween parent and eventually soon to be a teen parent. There are definitely some differences in how you parent and what parenting is like. You know, you're so involved in their day-to-day lives when they're little. And not to say that you're not involved, but you really have to kind of train yourself to pull back, but know when to step in. And that's the tough part, is knowing which things to step in on, which things to offer help on, which things to let them struggle a little bit to try to figure it out on their own. And try to find that fine balance, just honestly, from there. So that's what's going on with us right now. It should be a really interesting year. I'm really, really hopeful the next school year Isabella will be able to go back, because she'll be in middle school. And so I think that's a really important time, just talking about that autonomy, to be able to get themselves to their own classes and things like that. It definitely is a big learning time for them too. So something that we're looking forward to. But hopefully you are doing well. I'm hopeful that the light is at the end of the tunnel. I do think that this is going to drag on through the majority of 2021, so we're just trying to plan accordingly and just try to look forward to when things will start to become more normal, whatever that is. You know, what is normal even? Is this just our new normal? So I don't know. It's a very interesting situation for sure. But I'm going to bring you some videos. I also have my video list to do about ways that I love to save money. I was thinking about this the other day, and I was like, I really don't talk about or I haven't talked a lot in recent years, I don't think, about some of the things that I love to do to save money, some of the things that I have done like the entire time along, or like tricks that I've learned and just things that I do. So I want to share some of that in case it would be helpful if you're trying to set new intentions and new paths and new ways of doing things, either because of this situation or just in general. I thought that maybe some of this would be helpful. So I'm also going to film ways that I save by shopping at Target, because although there are some things that of course you can get sucked into the Target vortex and things just end up in your cart, because that happens, but there are definitely ways to save. So I'll share some videos like that coming up, and how I save shopping online, because I'm definitely a big sales shopper. I like finding things on sale. I like finding things that are good deals. And I just like that kind of thrill of being able to feel like I got a better price on things as we go along. So I hope you guys are having a great day. Let me know if you have any questions for a future tea chat or question and answer video. And I will have another one of those coming up pretty soon. I'm actually going to do a Disney one, I think, fairly soon. And also a kind of dream bucket list type of Disney vacation list as well. So that's it for today. Thanks so much for watching, and have a great day.